Greetings, everyone. Ryder Bullock with you in our Temecula studios. And just like that, round one of the 2026 NBA draft is in the books. And let me tell you, this draft went pretty much how everybody thought at the top. But after that, a couple surprises, a couple reaches, and a few teams that may have changed their future tonight. Let's start with Washington. The Wizards take A.J. DeBonce at number one, and frankly, that's the right pick. Nobody should be surprised. The kid has been the favorite for 2 years. He's 6'9", scores from everywhere, and Washington is betting he's the guy who finally ends years of losing. They won 17 games, they won 18 games, they lost nearly 200 games over 3 seasons. They need a franchise player, and they believe they got one. Now, whether he's the next Tracy McGrady, like John Wall says, we'll find out. But Washington couldn't afford to get cute here. Utah at number two takes Darren Peterson. I know a lot of people thought Peterson might have been the best pure player in the draft. The Jazz clearly think they got a steal. Pairing him with George gives them a dynamic backcourt. And if Peterson stays healthy, Utah's rebuild just got a whole lot more interesting. At number three, Memphis gets Cameron Boozer. I love this pick. I absolutely love it. The NBA ready for this kid. I mean, this kid is ready. He rebounds, he passes, he shoots, he understands the game. He's not the flashiest player in the draft, but 5 years from now, we may be talking about Boozer as one of the best players from this class. And guess what? He's going to be paired with Zach Edey, who is going to be doing great things in Memphis. Regardless if Ja Morant stays or not, you have a future with Cameron Boozer. And that's the type of player winning organizations draft, right? Chicago gets Caleb Wilson at 4, high upside, tremendous athlete. Bulls fans are hoping this isn't another Patrick Williams situation. The talent is obvious, but now he's got to develop into a star. Biggest surprise, Morris Johnson Jr. going ninth to Dallas. I don't think many people had him in the top 10 a month ago, but Dallas clearly values toughness, defense, and familiarity with new coach Dusty May. I knew he was going to get a Michigan man. I didn't know it was going to be that particular one. But that's one of those picks, we'll visit in 3 years, and say, Morris Johnson Jr., great pick, poor pick. Time will tell. Speaking of Michigan, I think Golden State got the best value. Yaxel Lindenberg at 11. The Warriors get an experienced player who can do a little bit of everything. That's exactly the type of prospect that thrives next to veterans. Ade Mara to Oklahoma City at 12, 7'3", elite rim protection, going to really give Oklahoma City extra size when Chet Holmgren comes to the bench there, and elite rim protection there. The Thunder just keep adding pieces. It's almost unfair at this point. Team I like most tonight, Washington, not just because DeBonce is guaranteed to be a superstar, because for the first time in years, the Wizards actually have direction. Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson, and now A.J. DeBonce, and I'm forgetting Colable, and you can finally see the blueprint, right? Because it takes time, and you got to rebuild, and we know that, but man, oh man, watch out for those Wizards. Watch out for those Wizards. Everybody wants to declare winners and losers on draft night. I'm not going to do that. You can't. You just can't. Nobody knew what Giannis was. Nobody knew what Jokic was. Nobody knew Jeremy Lin was going to shake New York for a month and a half. So what can you say is this? You can say Washington got their franchise cornerstone. Utah got their scorer. Memphis has a culture guy. And now the clock starts. Summer League's around the corner. And that's where the next chapter begins. So you're going to go to work tomorrow. And everybody's going to be talking about DeBonce, Peterson, Boozer, and Wilson. We covered those guys. And actually, did we talk about Wilson? Let's talk about Wilson for a minute. I don't think Wilson got his justice there. He's going to the Bulls. Phenomenal player. there. Where's my thing here? We got it here? Here it is. Caleb Wilson. Oh, that's not it. Here we go. Sorry, lost my notes there. Caleb Wilson. Wilson's energy and explosiveness helped him play above the rim and win battles on the interior. He plays hard, dunks everything, and has untapped offensive upside. If he can improve his ball skills and jumper, he proved to be able. He can prove that he's able to impact the high-level college games. He did that. Now he's just got to execute that in the NBA. I think he will, and he's got a great athletic front court and going to do great things for the Chicago Bulls. Now I want to go to the picks that had people raising eyebrows, nodding their heads in approval, or scratching their heads wondering what exactly happened. And I'm going to start with Dallas. We knew they were going to get a Michigan player. We just didn't know which one. I said yesterday that Aday Mara would be the first person from Michigan picked. I was wrong. It was Morris Johnson Jr. at 9. Dallas gets a tough big man with length and the ability to switch onto the perimeter on defense. He's a great athlete who runs the floor well and can finish plays around the rim. He centered himself as a winning player with his effort and consistency. And this was the first surprise pick of the night, in my opinion, as the Mavericks went with Johnson days after announcing Michigan, just 24 hours, just less than maybe 24 hours, as their new head coach, Dusty May. And it was unclear how much influence May would have right away, especially on this selection. But Johnson was a player he loved coaching and ultimately leaped a few spots higher than expected. He had some appeal there, as after playing a huge role in Michigan's title run just last spring with his workmanlike play and versatility defense, viewed as a fit for essentially every team in the 8 through 15 range, and he's going to be a great backline behind Cooper Flagg. And again, familiarity, right? We've seen it with the Knicks, and I knew Dallas wasn't going to be able to get all three of those Michigan guys, but Morris Johnson Jr. was, man, oh man, a great addition to Dallas, and really one of the biggest surprises of the lottery. Most mock drafts had him somewhere in the teens. Dallas clearly saw something they loved. Dusty May knows him well from Michigan, and apparently the Mavericks weren't willing to risk waiting. So that's a pick that's either going to look brilliant or way too aggressive. Golden State at 11 gets Yaxo Lindenberg. I said that was the best value there. This is the 6'9" kid from Michigan. Great player here. Versatility sets him apart. He has a center-sized dimensions and can handle, he can pass, he can shoot, he can play in transition and defend all over the floor. Now, I don't know why ESPN has this as a weakness. He's going to turn 24 late this year, but you know what? We said it in the pregame show. We said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. The Golden State does not have time. Okay? They do not have time. Time is of the essence for them, and you've got a great veteran. I love this pick. The Warriors continue to do what they've always done. Find smart basketball players. And Yaxo Lindenberg, he's not flashy, but he rebounds, he passes, he defends, and understands how to play. And that's the kind of player winning organizations value more than highlight reels. How about Oklahoma City? They get Aday Mara at 12. This is a great pick, like I said, going to provide some relief for Chet Holmgren. And, Mara's made strides with his conditioning, but he isn't particularly mobile or quick off the floor. He sometimes struggles to rebound and out of his area and isn't defensively versatile. Oklahoma City will want to work on that. And I think Oklahoma City, with the championship caliber team that they have, the great teammates, and the great leadership that they have, will be a great spot for him. Somebody that I wasn't tracking was 14. This is Haynes Steinbach. Arguably the top rebounder in this draft. He led the country with 11.8 boards per game last season. He's productive, he's physical, has a good touch and hands around the basket, and competes defensively. He's a little dependent, and he's got good dependability and a strong sell for NBA teams, but not a traditional rim protector, yet he can rebound. So I think that will be an interesting pick for Charlotte there. And then how about Jaden Quaintance there? They needed size, and they're going to get it with the 6'10 Kentucky forward. And if Quaintance can return to full health, he has the talent to succeed as a rotational center with physical ability that outweighs the other warrants in his game. It's a reminder that how championship-minded San Antonio is, and it remains to be seen how his knee injury will impact his place on draft boards. But he's obviously a first-round talent. San Antonio believes he's a first-round talent. Keldon Johnson is going to appreciate him a lot, and it is a great pickup there. Let's keep rolling on here. How about Bennett Sturts at 16? A lot of people thought he'd be a late first rounder. Instead, Oklahoma City trades into the pick and gets him. Another example of Sam Presti saying, I don't care what the mock draft says, I know who I want. Now let's talk about some steals. We just talked about Jaden Quaintance at 20, might be one of the biggest steals in the entire draft. If he stays healthy, you're talking about a player many scouts thought to be top 10 talent. Zuby Ejiofor at 23 is another one. Every year teams fall in love with upside and forget about production. Zuby produces. He won, he defended, he rebounded. Sometimes basketball is not complicated, right? The Lakers getting Cameron Carr at 24 is interesting. Los Angeles needed youth, athleticism, and perimeter scoring. Carr gives them all three. That's one of those picks that fits what the organization actually needs. And then maybe the most fascinating pick of the first round was Koa Pete at 30. A guy many thought could go in the lottery slides all the way to the final pick of the first round, and that's exactly how contenders stay contenders. You find talent when everyone else gets nervous. Now, who surprised me the most? Not a player, but it was Michigan. 3 Wolverines in the lottery. Morris Johnson Jr. at 9, Yaxel Lindenberg at 11, and Ade Mara at 12. That's a national championship program sending 3 players into the lottery in one night, something Florida could not do last year. You had to wait all the way to 15 before you got to Walter Clayton Jr. So Big Ten supremacy knocking off the SEC once again. That's how you build a powerhouse. So the Stars, well, they went where they were expected to go. But drafts aren't remembered for the obvious picks. They're remembered for the picks nobody saw coming. 5 years from now, one of these players selected in the 20s is going to be an all-star, and one of the lottery picks is going to disappoint. And that's the draft, right? Nobody knows tonight. Everybody thinks they know tonight, and that's why we keep watching. So round 1 is over. The green room's a little emptier, but let me tell you something. There are still some players sitting there tonight who thought they'd hear their names called, and that's the reality of the NBA draft. Sometimes somebody slides, right? And let's start with the biggest names left on the board for tomorrow. Isaiah Evans from Duke. A lot of people thought Evans had a chance to sneak into the back end of the first round. He's an elite shooter, Duke pedigree. Instead, he's heading into day 2 with a chip on his shoulder. And you know what? Sometimes that's the best thing that can happen to a player. Henry Vasseur from North Carolina in today's NBA. 7-footers who can move and shoot don't usually last that long. Somebody early in the second round is going to get tremendous value from him. Malik Thomas from Arkansas. This one surprises me. Scoring guards always find a home. Always. Maybe teams were worried about fit. Maybe teams wanted more size. But Thomas is one of the better offensive players still available. Now, here's a guy I keep looking at, and that's Baba Miller. Every year we talk about upside. Every year somebody says if we can develop this guy. Well, Baba Miller might be the kid that's got the most upside, right? He has as much upside as anybody left in the draft. The question is whether a team believes it can unlock it. Then you got Ryan Conwell from Louisville. You need shooting, that's your guy. The NBA always has room for players who can make shots. So don't be shocked if he comes off the board very quickly tomorrow. And then there's Brandon Smith from Purdue. Listen, I would not personally take this kid. Okay? That's just my opinion. Okay? I think he's undersized. Okay? I don't think he's the greatest athlete. But he does run a team and he can make plays. And he does produce when he steps onto the floor. I wouldn't take him. And sometimes, you know, I'm critical of that, and sometimes maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. But he is still on the board, and I wouldn't take him. That's my personal opinion, but what do I know? Richie Saunders from BYU. I would draft him. He's a winning player, smart player, the kind of player contenders love drafting in the second round because they know exactly what they're getting. A couple more names to watch. Bruce Thornton from Ohio State, Nate Biddle from Oregon, Jacoby Gillespie from Tennessee. Those are experienced college players who may not have superstar ceilings but could absolutely stick in the league. Now let's talk about the guy who might hear his name first tomorrow. And for me, it's either Isaiah Evans or Henry Vasseur. Those are first round talents sitting there as we speak. And every general manager in the league knows it. So everybody is going to celebrate tonight. Everybody who got drafted should celebrate tonight. Take those photos. Post those photos. Shake Adam Silver's hand. But tomorrow morning, that's where careers can change, because every year we get caught up in the lottery. Every year somebody drafted on day 2 ends up being one of the best players in the class. The draft isn't over. Not even close. We'll see who wakes up tomorrow ready to prove 30 teams wrong. So, one last time. The first round of the 2026 NBA draft is complete. For months, these young men trained, traveled, interviewed, worked out, and waited for a moment that for many of them has been a dream since they first picked up a basketball. Tonight, for 30 players, that dream became reality. A.J. Debonsa begins a new chapter in Washington. Darren Peterson heads to Utah. Karen Boozer arrives in Memphis. Caleb Wilson lands in Chicago. But as history has shown us time and time again, the story of a draft is rarely written on draft night. Some of tonight's selections will become all-stars. A few may become franchise cornerstones. Others will face obstacles, adversity, and challenges they have never encountered before. And somewhere among the players still waiting to hear their names called tomorrow, maybe a future champion, an all-NBA performer, or perhaps even the best player in this draft class. And that's what makes this night and tomorrow night so fascinating. Hope arrives in every NBA city today. Every fan base believes their team found the missing piece. Every front office believes its vision is beginning to take shape. Now the real work begins. Summer League is around the corner. Training camp will be here before we know it, and tonight's prospects will soon become professionals. For all of us at the Hardwood Report, I'm Ryder Bullock. Congratulations to the newest members of the National Basketball Association. Thank you for joining us throughout the first round of the 2026 NBA Draft. We'll do it again tomorrow. Good night from the studio.